So yesterday, Trump had a 2-hour phone call with Vladimir Putin, and today he met with Zelensky at the White House. And apparently Zelensky was completely blindsided by the fact Donald Trump had a phone call with Vladimir Putin yesterday. He found out about it when he was on his plane over here, and reports are he was like, "What? I'm just about to meet with him and ask for Tomahawk missiles." And instead, Putin made it very clear on the phone call to Trump, if you give him Tomahawk missiles, this war will not end. Here is the story from, this is from BBC. Putin-Trump call a curveball for Zelensky ahead of the White House meeting. News of the phone call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday, in which they agreed to meet in person to discuss the war in Ukraine, will have come as an unwelcome surprise to Kyiv. The country is being hit hard. The last 24 hours alone have seen Russia launch dozens of missiles and more than 300 drones at multiple targets. Once again, they include a large amount of civilian infrastructure with further damage to the country's gas supply network, just as the first signs of cold herald a long, hard winter ahead. Attacks on the electrical grid are already leading to nationwide power outages. For Ukraine's government, it's a sign of Russian desperation. The front lines are at an effective stalemate involving huge loss of life for incremental territorial gains. So, it's not looking good. We want this war to end. How long can this really go on? But it was interesting, the conversation that Trump and Zelensky had today, several of the things that were said. First of all, Trump said that it's an honor to be, to meet with Zelensky. Here's what he says.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to be with a very strong leader, a man who has been through a lot, and a man who I've gotten to know very well, and we've gotten along really very well. And we had a big call yesterday, as you know, with President Putin, and we'll be talking about it. President Zelensky of Ukraine has endured a lot. I mean, he really has. He's endured a lot, and we've endured it with him. To be honest, it's been a long time, and I think we're making great progress. So we're going to be talking about that today. We'll be talking about what took place yesterday with my phone call with President Putin. And I think that things are coming along pretty well. It began with Alaska, where I think certain guidelines were discussed, and we want to see if we can get this done. This was long ago into the Biden administration. I came here and we inherited this, and we'd like to see if we could finish it, end it. We want it ended. So many people have died in this war, and we're gonna get it ended. So
these are not the words that Zelensky wanted to hear, because he was coming to Washington to ask for Tomahawk missiles, and this is what was said.
Okay, Tomahawks to Ukraine. What's going to happen if the United States is in a conflict and we need the Tomahawks?
That's a problem. We need Tomahawks, and we need a lot of other things that we've been sending over the last 4 years to Ukraine. We've been, we gave them a lot. Now we have a different situation. We send it to the European Union. They pay for it and all that, and they have plenty of money. But it's beyond the money. We need Tomahawks, so we need a lot of other weapons that we're sending to Ukraine. And one of the reasons we want to get this war over is exactly that. It's not easy for us to give. You're talking about massive numbers of very powerful weapons. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about. Hopefully they won't need it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about Tomahawks.
Well, I mean, that's the goal, because obviously if you're sending Tomahawks, the war's not ending. That's what Vladimir Putin said. This is Putin, Trump talking about whether or not Putin and Zelensky will meet. So Putin and Trump are set to meet in Budapest, but will Zelensky be there? That's the big question.
To be determined, but I would say most likely it's going to be a double meeting. It'll be a double meeting, but we will have the president, Zelensky, in touch. There's a lot of bad blood with the two presidents, and I'm not speaking out of turn when I say it. It's a very difficult situation. We just settled the war, and after thousands of years, I guess. People say anywhere from 500 to 3,000 years, and I was in rooms, as you saw, because you were with me, a lot of you were with me last week, with leaders that didn't like each other, but they were able to get along these two leaders do not like each other, and we want to make it comfortable for everybody. So one way or the other, we'll be involved in threes, but it may be separated.
Okay, so he says he wants to make it comfortable. And yet, at one point during the meeting with Zelensky, he made Zelensky extremely uncomfortable. And that is when he said, he asked him the strangest question, but leave it to Trump to always make things awkward. And he asks Zelensky, apparently he spoke to Putin about building a bridge, like a pipe, like a tunnel between Alaska and Russia. This is something that's been thrown out around for decades now. But he decides to ask Zelensky, what do you think about, maybe us building a tunnel between Russia and Alaska? What do you think of that? I mean, what do you expect Zelensky to say to this? But this was the awkward moment.
This came up yesterday, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. That's an interesting. What do you think of that, Mr. President? Do you have any ideas? How do you like that idea?
I'm not happy with this.
I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it.
President Trump, do you think that?
Yeah, I don't like this idea. Okay, why would he even ask him that weird, awkward question? What a strange thing. Zelensky, by the way, he shows up wearing all black. So he does now wear a suit, but he wears all black, shows up. He was very much blindsided on the plane when Trump had the phone call with Putin. Zelensky really believed things were going his way. He thought that when he arrived in Washington, he was going to talk about Tomahawk missiles, exchanging them for drones, and in fact, he said that at one point. He said, we've got a lot of drones. You guys have Tomahawks. Maybe we can make a trade. And at that moment, Zelensky was turned around. We don't have the clip, but he was turned around talking to a reporter, so he couldn't see Trump and J.D. Vance. But Trump and J.D. Vance actually kind of glanced at each other and smiled, like he really thinks he's going to get Tomahawk missiles in exchange for drones, for Ukrainian drones. But nonetheless, I mean, you got to give Zelensky some credit. The guy's got a lot of grit. He has been going at this, and really, even though I totally don't agree with what this war is about, I do blame the United States on this one quite a bit. I don't know how exactly, other than Ukraine. Well, okay, let me just back that up a minute. This is Russia. Russia is engaging in war. So Russia is the aggressor. There's no doubt about that. Ukraine could stop this instantly. And that is by saying, yeah, you know what? What were we thinking? We should not be cozying up and partnering to the West. You have always been the brother to Ukraine. We're brothers. We speak the same language. We're the same people. We're literally your family members with each other. So we just need to stay neutral, and we're not going to allow NATO on our land. We're not going to be cozying up with Western leaders. We're not going to try to join the EU. We're going to stay with basically the old Soviet bloc. We're going to stay loyal to that. Although there's, a long history as to maybe why Ukraine wouldn't want to do that. There's been a lot of fighting between Russia and Ukraine over the years, over the decades, a lot of history there. But this could be ended instantly with Ukraine just saying, okay, we're not going to join NATO. We're not going to even continue to attempt to try to join NATO. This is ridiculous. And it's only going to cause war, which it did, which it has, which that's what they're in. But the United States is not backing down either on reeling NATO back. I mean, the only other option is for the U.S. to say, okay, we're going to stop pushing NATO forward. We are going to go back to where it was when we made the handshake deal, that we were not going to encroach east. And yet the United States did, time and time again. It kept adding countries to NATO, kept adding them in order to antagonize Russia. So the U.S. also has a lot of responsibility in this and just saying, look, we're going to stop antagonizing you. And we made a promise that we're going to leave the Warsaw Pact alone, and we're going to really leave the Warsaw Pact alone. And that's not what's happened. So I still don't really know what the motivation would be for Putin to end this war. I think he enjoys the dialogue with Trump. I think he wants to have those meetings because I think he does want the dialogue. I do think he's wanting to keep communication and the doors open to each other so that maybe the U.S. will come to a point where where the U.S. government says, okay, we're going to reel back NATO and we need to do the right thing. We actually need to reel it back to, before we started encroaching on the Warsaw Pact. How likely is that to happen? I don't know, but it's certainly not likely to happen if the two leaders don't meet and try to have some eye to eye and build some sort of relationship. So maybe that's what's going on in Putin's mind. Like, the only way this is going to happen is if we build a relationship. We can't be icing each other out because that's only going to make things worse. So maybe that's why Putin continues to meet with Trump. And Putin continues to stroke Trump's ego and says, good job on that whole Middle East conflict. You solved it. And Trump's sitting there thinking he solved something that's 3,000 years old. He's literally saying that, like, I ended a war that's 3,000 years old, which just couldn't be more not accurate. I mean, what he's done is he's maybe put a halt to the killings of this battle in this long war of Israelis trying to massacre and get rid of the Palestinians. But nonetheless, Putin knows how to stroke his ego. And so he says, oh, good job on that. Maybe you can do something on this war. Don't give him Tomahawk missiles. And maybe Putin's only goal in all of this is just to ensure the Tomahawk missiles don't go to Ukraine. And Russia will continue to do what Russia's going to do. Those are all questions. I have to show you this other clip. But at the end of the day, I just don't know. Putin is in control of this, whether or not he's going to end this war. Zelensky's also got a lot of power in this. He could absolutely say, we're going to just, we're not going to be going along this NATO Western path anymore. But of course, Zelensky doesn't want to do that. There are a lot of hardliners in Ukraine who might maybe even threaten Zelensky's life. Maybe that's why he's not doing the reasonable thing. But I have to also show you this clip. Trump asked Zelensky, what is the difference, or someone asked, a reporter asked Zelensky, what is the difference between Trump and Biden? And listen to Zelensky's answer, but then listen to Trump interject at the end. This is hilarious.
What do you see as the biggest difference in diplomacy between President Trump and President Biden?
President Trump has a big chance now to finish this war. President Biden now is not the president, so he doesn't have a chance to finish this war. And President Trump is really showed for the world that he can manage ceasefire in the Middle East, and that's why I hope that he will do this, and we will also have such big success. For Ukraine, it's a big chance, and I hope that President Trump can manage it.
I would say the biggest difference is one is extremely competent and the other one is grossly incompetent.
What else is Trump going to say? But, Zelensky's just like, well, Trump is president, Biden's not president. So that's the difference. Trump's like, no, one's competent, one's incompetent. I don't think Zelensky's winning those points in order to get those Tomahawk missiles after that comment. But I'm curious to see what happens. Of course, we'll continue following this, but wanted to give you an update on the latest with Russia and Ukraine. Trump in his bid towards that Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.